My name is Roksana Ciurysek, and I've been trying to think how I can describe myself in a very short space of time. And I would say I'm a truth seeker. My professional life has been in finance. I'm a passionate artist that creates pieces that are linked to climate change. And I'm also a movie producer. I'm very happy to be part of Voices of the Future.
Roksana's invited her into her beautiful home and her environment, which actually encapsulates her life and her work. There are beautiful books here, there's lovely art, there are sculptures, and that whole eclectic mix and the kaleidoscope of life that she is represented in this home. And that is one of the reasons, especially why we are here today to talk to her about the kaleidoscope of her life. Roksana, wonderful to meet you. Thank you for inviting us to your home. And like I said, this is a kaleidoscope of life. There's so much color, energy, vibrance. There are paintings right in the sky. So, so tell me, what's inspiring all of this, this mix of life that you have?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to talk to you. Look, I think obviously home is where we spend a lot of our times, and especially me now working from home, and this is where my sons are here too. So when I moved to Dubai 2.5 years ago, it was really important to me that home is reflecting also who I am. So art has been a very big passion. Hence, you could see pretty much all around my art pieces I have created, also other artists as well. And color has been definitely prominent. I believe that color gives energy. So, so welcome here.
Thank you very much indeed. And when I look around, I see sort of cosmic images, I see globes, I see beautiful images there in terms of space and out there. What's inspiring you as far as space and the cosmic world is concerned?
I have always been fascinated by cosmos, and I remember as a child when I watched on television the landing on the moon, the inspiration stayed with me. So a lot of my exhibitions in the past were around cosmos and universe and our role within it. I did an exhibition many years ago in London called Diamonds in the Sky, where I actually work with astrophotographers, and I have put diamonds on printed aluminum and on the scientific images. So kind of fusing art and science, and has been my inspiration. I have also my signature has been photography on brushed aluminum with diamonds and technology. So as an engineer by background, I guess that element of aluminum and a metal is one part of me. The diamonds that actually, as a chemical element and a hard substance of carbon, is something that is beautiful. And it's not, I'm actually not at all obsessed with diamonds, but I love the idea of democratizing diamonds and putting them on an art piece. And very often I would add technology element where I would either read people's emotions or read the heartbeat, and you become a co-creator of the art piece together with me. So one of the exhibitions you see here that I showed at Davos Economic Forum was on climate change. And this time, rather than looking up in the sky, I was actually looking down, and I used some of the NASA images and also images from planet and of different parts of the world to draw people's attention to the issue of climate change. And pretty much you will also see very prominent in my art pieces is the philosophy of kintsugi, golden repair. So when you break an object, rather than throwing it away, discarding it, we piece it together with gold and the object becomes more beautiful for having been broken.
That's a Japanese philosophy, kintsugi. Yeah.
That's the Japanese philosophy, kintsugi or kintsukuroi. And since I rediscovered it when I was in Japan, it was one of these aha moments when you really feel, wow, it is so powerful and so beautiful. And it applies to not only the planet. So the big sculpture in front of my home, which just flew over from United Kingdom, it was in Inner Temple first and then Sudley Castle. It represents our planet. It's a recycled stainless steel and it's a bit broken.
Yeah.
So I'm fixing it with gold. 2 years ago, actually, Stamford has asked me to design based on the art piece I've co-created actually with a friend of mine, Cass. And the art piece based on the sculptures I just described to you. And that was a trophy that has been given to Selena Gomez for her advocacy for mental health. And again, this concept not only applies to the world, and this is such a beautiful metaphor, but also to us. This is us on cellular level, going through experiences in life and being broken. So these are our golden scars we should embrace rather than hide them.
Indeed. Let me take you back to little Roksana. When you were a little girl, what inspired you? What was making you, turn up in the morning? What were you reading? Was there anybody in your life, your father, your professor, your mother, anybody who inspired you in a certain way to make you who you are today?
I was brought up in Poland, and that's where I went to, also where I graduated. And definitely my family has been a very big influence on me. My father, even though he was by profession, first he was a diver in the army and then worked on cargo ships. He was very much a passionate artist, so he would create, he could play any instrument without a single lesson in his life. I ended up playing the piano, however, I was properly trained. Definitely inspiration of my parents. My mom has been the loving, the patient one who was taking us everywhere. I also have a brother, and spending hours with us, learning about what we did at school. And I guess the first time I received a camera from my dad, it was Zenith, I still remember. And we used to develop images, we used to develop films in our kitchen turned into a dark room. And I remember this magic of photography of creation was born. Definitely books also, we had books everywhere. The whole house was covered in books. And there was definitely, from different disciplines, I've always been someone who's been fascinated by many things. And even though my dad used to repeat that I have to focus on one thing and become really good at it, I guess I was more of a jack of all trades because I've been so curious and interested to explore. So I told him, Dad, I'll be jack of all trades, not master of none, but master of a few. Yeah. How about that?
I'll frame it differently. I think you are a polymath, which is effectively the new Renaissance. You are the new Renaissance woman, because when Leonardo da Vinci and people like that, they were artists and scientists and philosophers and psychologists, and they loved art, they loved music, they loved food, they loved girls, they loved everything.
They love life.
They loved life, exactly. And then they were polymaths, and you and I relate to each other very much, because if you look at a T, and we are the bit at the top, and maybe one or two things we can specialize in every now and then, but we are the top part of the T, and the experts go down that route. And as the world is changing, just being an expert is actually very tough, because technology is taking over, and a lot of the expertise is now going back to the higher level the expertise of judgment, the expertise of intuition, the humanity of being able to understand and make sense, and critical thinking, and all of those key elements are coming in. And I see you as a polymath. I see you as a multiple dimensional person who is looking at art and science, who's looking at maths and finance, who's bringing in climate and change and all of that, and putting it into this little, and then you're giving it reality, you're giving it some shape in your life. And I find it fascinating.
Well, thank you. But I also believe that we are all different. All of us have different strengths and different special superpowers. And I think it's really important to recognize this and be really true to yourself. Because believe me, when I was a child and trying to pursue all the different things, I wanted to become a doctor, and I was drawing and painting and playing the piano. It was not a popular choice. So in a way, I was going against what my family really was advising me. But somehow, I really don't know why, but I felt this strong voice that I need to pursue and follow what I think I'm good at or what brings me joy. So in the end, I've decided last minute not to study medicine and decided to study engineering and then economics. And I remember when I told to my parents that who were, especially my dad, was really destroyed by my decision, that it's like the biggest mistake of my life. But I really believe that doing engineering and then economics and business is going to give me all the different possibilities and will allow me to be myself more. If I specialize, and look, I admire people who can just have this mono focus. I do agree that now, after so many years, I guess connecting the dots, I can see that that it wasn't such a bad strategy, especially with the invention in technologies and advancements all the time. It will still, again, people who specialize, it's great, but they have to augment themselves with technology.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I've been doing 100 Voices of the Future, and it's interesting how family has been a feature in almost every conversation that I've had, and how they've been the pillar of strength, which in your case is again the same thing, and how family has always tried to guide their kids towards security, because they came through a generation of wars and difficulties and so on. So they wanted to give their kids security.
The best. And they want the best.
The best plus security. What I meant by security is do a safe job.
Yes. Play it safe.
Absolutely, play it safe. And most of the people I'm talking to, people like yourself, actually broke away from that. And they said, let's do a little bit different. And then you found your path into this sort of new journey. In that journey, you ended up becoming a banker and finance. Tell us about that experience of yours.
Well, I spent professionally, my whole professional life has been in finance, so over 20 years. But again, it's not that I had a dream of becoming a banker. It was when I was doing my master's, I actually got a scholarship because I did a few other additional studies. One was environmental protection. And I got a scholarship, and the scholarship was very much focused on finding a placement in an industrial plant. So, but for whatever reason, I felt that if I could combine environmental protection, at that time sustainability wasn't really that widely used, with finance, that will be something interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I did a search, and I found that the bank that's actually have an environmental mandate with financial project finance is really, there were not many. There was EBRD, so European Bank for Reconstruction and Development in London. And as simple as that, I wrote a letter to the president explaining that I have a scholarship and would they accept me at the environmental unit within the bank. And I remember that people who learn that that's what I'm doing, they said there is like zero chance. So, sometimes you have to take the zero chances.
Yeah.
And I did get a reply, and they accepted me for internship that turned into possibility of writing my master thesis and actually get paid for it as well. So it was quite, again, that's why we have to always be open and really don't necessarily be set on a specific goal.
Yeah. And I think we look at, what you're talking about here is the law of attraction. If you open yourself to abundance, it comes towards you. If you close yourself towards scarcity, that's essentially what you get. The way I'm seeing you shape your life is you are the nexus between finance, and you've got the environment in there, and you have a bit of technology in there, and you have art in there. And then these are little sort of elements, almost like a matrix coming together. Today, fast forward to today, you have now taken a much, much more impactful role in terms of sustainability, environment, saving the planet, and you've done some recent work on that. Would you like to share some of your stories there?
So after 20 years in finance, my final year was actually I ended up being deputy CEO of the biggest Polish bank. So serving on the board of a large listed company was definitely a fascinating experience. But also that was the moment that me having tried for like probably 5 years to leave finance per se into more of a what I call portfolio life, it really helped me, that experience, to finally leave banking in style.
Okay.
So I did, and I've been taking a time to really intentionally think where I want to put my energies and where can I really use my experience and my passions for, and this word is overused, but I genuinely always been interested in impact. So I was thinking, what are of course, we know that one of the biggest issues we are facing today is the climate change. And to me, I was searching how can I contribute or how can I learn more. And I designed my portfolio life around all these different themes and my experiences. And in fact, I got involved a few years ago with Oliver Stone movie called Nuclear Now, that we just showed at COP28, also showed it in Davos last year, and it was launched during Venice Film Festival. And really how it all started, when I learned about the project from Oliver and his producers, I was quite curious, and I probably, like many people then who watched the movie, who talked to us afterwards, I had all the misconceptions about nuclear power. And the first thing I did was to read the book that the movie is based on, called Bright Future. I like the title. And it's by Professor Joshua Goldstein and Staffan Kvist, who I got to know you as well and learn from them. And I think that moment of having read the book, which is in a very approachable, clear way, tells the story. It kind of became part of my mission, and now I am working with the fourth generation companies that are building nuclear reactors. I'm working with investors how to shift the capital towards these important projects. Also with World Economic Forum, and during COP28, I had the pleasure of really gathering different voices, including Isabel Boemke, who is the world's first nuclear influencer, so really bringing in younger generation. She was also featured in Nuclear Now. Also Grace Stanke, who is Miss America, who is also a nuclear engineer. So we had the young generation, young voices, we had Oliver Stone, and I was convening and moderating. So really, it wasn't overnight, but it's been a process. And I'm very excited now to be working on a sequel to Nuclear Now, which will be exclusively focused on the latest technologies.
Yeah. What are the biggest elements of resistance that you are encountering? Because I dare say the immune system clicks in, oh no, nuclear is dangerous, and what if something goes wrong, and things of that nature. And I dare say that question has been asked. So what is your response? How do you break through that immune system?
It's a process. We've been, and that's why the role of the movie has been so important, because it explains in a very I would say, clear way, but also it speaks to both high school students and even people who are in the industry. They're able to learn something, but also comment. So really, there are so many misconceptions we have, and there are similar questions. I mean, probably the biggest fear, it was all based around fear, how nuclear is associated with nuclear weapons, and obviously it's really bad, and the radiation, and all the disasters that happened. But actually, when you look behind the numbers, when you look, about nuclear waste, which is the most highly regulated and it's contained, and also how the new technologies that have moved, none of these risks are present. Look, everything we do entails certain amount of risks. It is the only available scale green energy, and we know energy transition is the key to really to our survival. And the energy demand keeps growing. So it doesn't mean, like in the movie we talk about it, it doesn't mean that nuclear is the only answer. It's the technology we have and have had. But obviously it will take other...
Yeah. As a futurist, I look at the future of energy and energy sources and so on. And interestingly enough, solar is the biggest and nuclear is the smallest. And I can understand why solar is the biggest, but I don't understand why nuclear is that small. I dare say you will be addressing that. To me, storytelling and making a movie is, I would say, the best possible way to enroll people and to engage people. I was talking to Minister Maria Meheri about 6-9 months ago, before COP28, and I said, how many people will attend COP? And she said, we'll have 100,000 people. I said, do you know how many people watched Don't Look Up? 150 million. So how much impact a movie can create, reaching 150 million versus, say, 1 million, 2 million, 10 million. Also, it leaves impact. There is a sense of a metaphor of understanding what the environment is about, and the metaphor of a meteor coming and hitting you is similar to the environment changing and is going to fundamentally kill you. So why aren't more people doing storytelling? Why are we stuck with conferences and panels and boring stuff? Why don't we make more movies?
That's why I got involved in movies, but bringing them to conferences as well. Look, I think in a way, I've been attending Davos for the last 9 years. I do not, it's exhausting, it's tiring, and there's panels, all these different conferences. I very much prefer doing things that impact people in different ways, but we know that also there is a big point and why we gather people in one place. And it's the most efficient way of meeting many people in one space that you want to as well, and connect.
Yeah, I mean, I think parts of it are a little bit disingenuous. People are coming into the environment conference in their private jets, and I know it's a minuscule portion, but the symbolism is very, very strong in terms of what their carbon footprint looks like. And a lot of these super rich billionaires who are walking into a COP28, the amount of mess they're creating globally and basically cleaning themselves in a process like this. So greenwashing, blue washing, sports washing, all of these washing is like a bloody washing machine going around us. I find that a little bit disingenuous, and I think we need to find authenticity underneath that.
Authenticity, and look, among all the washing, as you explain now, and look, it's always, it will be, there is part of it, when I was in finance, and I remember I was talking to, even on the board of the bank, I was trying to introduce impact investing, and I was trying to educate our clients on the fact that impact doesn't mean philanthropy. That actually, if you have the choice between two investments, equal returns or very similar, and one is really, assuring future of our children and it's having positive impact, the other one is destroying. It's a no-brainer. No one is going to question this.
I think you'd be surprised. I mean, one of the things there are two key elements that I'd like to draw from this. One of the statements I make is that green needs to be like digital. Digital 10 years ago was a department in IT, and there was and it was a function. Today it's omnipresent, it's part of who we are. Green shouldn't be part of a sustainability project or a CSR project or part of a balance sheet where you have net zero and things like that. So we fundamentally need to change that mindset and say green, every question, every business plan, every year, it's the beginning of the year, and we're planning for 24. Do we ask ourselves sufficiently in a board meeting, is this green? Will it help? Whatever. Or somebody says, excuse me, what about our sustainability KPIs?
And look, so bottom line is like this. I spent too long in finance. Unless the incentives are structured in such a way that there's no other way, it's not going to change. And it is changing. We have to remember it's a process. The regulation needs to change. We need to change accounting rules. So it is, I agree with you, it should be part of measurement. And we know, and I talk about it often, that before it was, you would look at just risk return, and that's how you're awarded, that's how bankers are incentivized. Now we know, and there's no going back, it's a risk return and impact. Now, as I say, it's in different countries, different legislation, different accounting standards, but there is, right now, this tide is there, and it's really a matter of time. But look.
So, that's true. I mean, we're violently agreeing with each other. I'm just trying to put a framework on this in terms of our conversation and the story that we are, and the narrative that we are developing. So the first big statement I make is green is the new digital. The second big statement, which you've alluded to very nicely, is that sustainability needs to be more profitable than the dirty business that we do. Until then, it'll be a nice to do, a little bit on the side, and so on. And when you really drill deeper, if you look at green tech over the next, say, 10, 15 years and so on, there is a huge opportunity for growth in protein-based products, in nuclear for that matter, in mobility. I have 1,000% growth environments within that. So if we look at those kinds of investment structures, because the mindset is there, we can get very, very high returns. And I think that's one of the things we would look at. I want to go to ESG as a phrase, and why in the United States it's being considered woke and become, it's like too liberal, too left-wing, and we'll address that. But before I go there, before we leave nuclear, nuclear weapons or nuclear fission came out 75, 80 years ago for a completely different need. Very, very quickly, we had all the guardrails and the non-proliferation treaties, and everybody signed it. And we haven't had a single nuclear event for the last 75, 80 years. So it's not perfect, but it's sort of working. The other kind of power that's being developed in the world, and I constantly compare it to nuclear fission, the new weapon of mass destruction is AI. AI that is unregulated, AI that is uncontrolled, generative AI that starts controlling certain thinking and our emotions and so on, has absolutely no guardrails whatsoever. Europe is trying to do something. Firstly, two questions. You are going to the World Economic Forum next week. You are part of a thought leader group. What are you saying in terms of what are my guardrails around AI, data, usage of data? Because hypercapitalism, these billionaires want to become bazillionaires and trillionaires. Who is the first trillionaire and how many trillionaires? That's the race. So therefore, they'll keep doing it. And AI is going to produce for them and make them more and more and more money. Where do we stop it and how do we stop it?
Look, there's no answer. And, we are operating within we are witnessing such an exponential change in truly what we can do with ChatGPT. We can run companies with it. We can replace lots of people. I think we are still catching up. Even I know that at the board level, we are still all learning. However, it's very hard to try to regulate something and put boundaries, given that we don't even know where it's going.
No, but we didn't know where nuclear was going. But we did. Yeah. We controlled it. Why? Because you used to explode things and blow things up. While with AI, it's all happening in a very subtle kind of way. The intrinsic bias that's coming into AI is going to affect all sorts of decisions in all sorts of places. as I said, the generative AI piece, I think what we really desperately need to do, and Europe is taking the lead and the US is falling desperately behind, is the fact that the first AI manifesto came out in Europe very, very recently, a few months ago. That's a step in the right direction. Yes. But guess what? It doesn't apply to governments. It does not apply to weapons manufacturers. It doesn't. So private sector doing nice things. Guess what? AI is going to be used by weapons manufacturers and the negative people, in my view, way more than even the positive people, because their incentives are different. And they have the incentives of control and power and authority and so on. I know it's a tough conversation, but I think there are thought leaders like you and people, respected people like you, who have to go out there and put the stake in the ground, perhaps, and say, just like we did with nuclear, why can't we do with AI? Let's find a non-proliferation of AI treaty. Let's find a non-negative utilization of AI and say drones, for example. I was part of a drone program about 6-7 years ago where we were writing the manifesto, and naively I put my hand up and I said, well, why don't we create a rule which says that drones are not allowed to be programmed to kill? Mm-hmm. So drones are stupid, we are smart. Now, we are programming the drones. Guess what? The biggest use for drones at the moment is killing people. And they're killing people all over the world. So what I'm saying is that I think we need a reset, a moral reset, a human reset. And capitalism and hyper-capitalism is not serving humanity today as it used to. I love capitalism. I'm not anti-capitalism, but conscious capitalism, sustainable capitalism, socially sensitive capitalism doesn't have to be 8% GDP growth or 7% GDP growth, and there's a disaster because 7 became 6. What do we need to shift? You are going there with basically, other than United Nations, the biggest forum next week. And it's just going to be blah, blah, and they'll get on their private jets and go home.
Look, it's obviously so big, and there are so many micro discussions and connections happening, and they are really real people doing real things. And however, so it's very hard to measure, like when you really look at this conference, they didn't done nothing, but this is not true. It's overall, how do you measure that amount? Now, I agree with you that these debates are central, are key now and it's our responsibility. And look, I'm absolutely, I think I told you when I was even studying economics, this whole idea of maximizations of profit at any cost. Yeah. And I would never forget when I was at EBRD and I was speaking to my colleagues, also even my boyfriend at that time who was at Goldman Sachs, like why, in a way they would look down at EBRD that you are guys like stuck in between development bank and then commercial bank and like measuring impact on environment. Like, what is it? I mean, it's like why every single bank does not measure how much we are destroying the environment and then throwing money back at it, and then you have this whole philanthropic side trying to fix it. Why not go back to the source and not destroy it in the first place? So it's obviously we have a tendency, all of us, to think in that linear way because we are in a certain system and the way it's been structured. So the whole machine works this way. So we need a shift in consciousness, actually.
I think shift in consciousness. You're absolutely right. Something fundamental has to shift. And
I feel it's shifting.
Is it? I'm a little bit more skeptical about that.
At least I see much more than I used to, even within the finance sector. And I think people are, I genuinely believe that, let's say, COVID was a very much this reboot, restart for many people who've been running in that, not having time even to think about anything. And they had the time to reconnect with the family, to actually spend some time on their health and realize, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. So I really believe that there was that shift that was kind of, we need to sometimes be forced into that. And why we know in theory that people who live the longest and have happiest are those who are close to family, who have good social network, who all these things. And what people not regret on the deathbed. But even though we know it, it's very hard to change this behavior unless something extreme happens.
Yeah.
So very often people whose friend is dying of cancer suddenly realize, oh my God, like it is about now.
Yeah.
So I believe I always look at positive side. So
and we're going to end with positivity. But you're as I said, a polymath and a super intelligent person, and I can have that empathetic, intelligent conversation with you, which is really, really important. And people who are going to be watching this kind of podcast and this kind of interview, for us to be able to challenge norms, and rather than just doing something soft and fluffy, which both of us we can do, but this is real. This is how we're challenging. I have, as a speaker, as a keynote speaker, I have a globe, and half the globe is burning, and the other half is beautiful and green. That half of the globe is, and I put there, growth and profit. As long as those are our core drivers, our globe is going to burn. While on the other side, people have a triple bottom line: people, planet, profit. But I have a 5 points, sort of elements of so people, planet, profit for sure. And then I look at prosperity, community, the whole thing. And last but not the least is peace, because without peace, everything else is imbalanced. So all of the macroeconomic issues until 2020 were around inflation and trade and supply chain and the usual sort of stuff. Then came the pandemic, all of the elements around the pandemic and impact of that. And now it's wars, Ukraine and now Gaza. So what is happening is these elements are becoming more and more important. So we need to have these 5 elements. As when you sit in a board meeting, we talk about people, planet, profit. We also look at prosperity and community, because without that, nothing will succeed. And are we working towards peace, global peace, not taking sides, but peace. And I think we should be smart enough to be able to do that. But that's for another day.
Look, in the board discussions, unfortunately, everything that is measurable, and is responsibility of someone, it would not be really discussed, let's face it, unless on the sidelines. Hence this shift in consciousness. Now, look, you can be, like, I've been in finance for 20 years, big banks, JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch, I've been on trading floors. Now, in a way, my incentives, the incentives that the bank had for me were all around profit maximization.
Correct.
Or bringing clients. Unlike at EBRD, which actually was probably the most, it was a pioneer of sustainability and impact investing. And it was that, but it's up to you as well. You can think, okay, you are the one responsible for your well-being and wellness. So it is, you at the end of the day. Yeah,
fair enough. Looking forward as we go to the final few minutes of our interview. Are you hopeful? Are you looking forward? You're a mother. You've got young kids around you, so what gives you that hope? What gives you that that emotion that you are handing over a burning planet or a healthy planet to your kids?
So I'm absolutely hopeful, and I wake up every day very much looking forward and excited to every day. Doesn't mean I don't have challenges every day, like we all do. However, what's been very powerful, I think, in my ritual and practice is really this moment of gratefulness. So really recognizing all the beautiful things we have, and so much it is our mindset. And look, around me, I really have so many amazing people, and they are all understanding at a deep level, the urgency, what needs to be done. And also, I think what's important, because to change the world, we need to start with ourselves.
100%. And you're doing a lot of that. You have several rituals and practices, and the discipline, and perhaps you can share a little bit of that, and to help people, to inspire people that we sort of need to connect with our core and our center. What are your experiences there?
It's a constant journey for sure, and definitely I introduce certain rituals that are they're very personal in a way because everyone is different. Everyone thrives on different things. However, meditation has become a very big part of my daily ritual. And I've even a few months ago studied and became a meditation teacher, but it was really more about my own journey. However, I started inspiring others and helping them because I remember before I couldn't find time. I always had a million of excuses, and really the power of daily meditation. And it doesn't have to be, for long. It's really about, like, you brush your teeth, you can do it before you brush your teeth, and it could be just literally sitting down in silence for 3 minutes, for 1 minute, and breathing, and just taking this time to breathe and observe the breath. And that's it. You don't have to do more. I mean, I've over time developed, because people start, how long? It's like the typical, how long you're meditating? No, it could be anything. Sometimes I meditate 20 minutes, sometimes 5, sometimes an hour. But it's very much, this ritual really allows me to stay grounded. And often when you are running from meeting to meeting, doing 100 things, you don't have time to think. But often you can have much more impact by actually doing less and taking a step back and having this perspective.
Yeah, indeed. My yoga teacher tells me exactly the same. He said, I know sometimes your discipline will collapse. So one of them was obviously meditation, but the other thing he said was breathing. And I need to teach you how to breathe properly. And 90% of the people around us do not breathe properly. And I think just that alone fundamentally changes the game.
Breath is the most powerful tool we have, and it's for free.
It's for free, and again, according to my yogi guru Sanjeev, he was saying it's like oxygen. It's like electricity, and the oxygen we put through our body through breathing is our energy.
Absolutely. And so even just this one, if anything, you can take away from this even conversation, really starting with yourself and everyone can find 2 minutes in a day to sit and breathe. Indeed.
Last couple of questions. An important one for me, and that is the role and the importance of trust in the future. Trust closely associated with truth and ethics, because without trust, truth, and ethics, this little trifecta, really very little can happen, whether it's in technology or anything else, but also in our personal and human lives. So where does trust sit with you, and how do you shape that in your life?
Recently, I did the Ikigai with you, actually, which is a very useful exercise to be done. And kind of integrity and trust is one of my top values. Now, I truly believe that, and anyway, everyone has different set of values that are most important to you.
Sure.
Now, I think trust is everything. I mean, even if you look at business deals that are being done, it is all based around trust. And we build the trust all our lives, and we can lose it within a second sometimes. So I think, to me, this is really a foundation, and the authenticity. I did a course at Harvard with the young global leaders, and it was based on the book True North, and effectively the whole course, you can summarize in one sentence, is about the best leaders are the authentic, true leaders. But again, it's a journey, and really, the more you become yourself and authentic, then the more powerful it is.
Yeah. And my final question is, with this race towards technology and towards productivity and hyper productivity and so on, anything that can be digitized will be, because it'll be 1,000,000 times faster and 1,000,000 times cheaper. But anything and everything that cannot be digitized, like love, compassion, harmony, common sense, heart, soul, spirit, judgment, all of these things are going to become 1,000,000 times more valuable. What do you think we need to do, both in terms of business and our education environment, let's say for your children, for us to get closer to these skills? And a lot of people call them soft skills. Actually, they're hard skills. They're life skills.
Yeah.
So what do we need to develop within companies so that they can make more human decisions, and with our children, that they can learn better and look after us into the future?
We know that the educational system is definitely not set for the changes that we are witnessing every day, and the way the children are tested, the way they are measured is completely archaic. Now, I'm really a believer as well. So certain things, let's say creativity. I'm teaching the course at Stanford, redefining human creativity in the era of AI, and we know that with Midjourney, with other now programs, you are able to do what before was human creativity, really, including, photo shoots that cost thousands of pounds. You're able to do it for free within seconds. Now, what you cannot replace is the human story, the element, the story behind it, behind the piece. So, we can look at a picture created by AI, but it is missing something. So these are exactly the values you mentioned, and the empathy and what makes us human. And it's interesting because in my lifetime, I've seen how, what was a soft skill that was usually dismissed, now it really is becoming the hard skill. So what we can do is to be in touch with ourselves much more, with our heart, to be more true to ourselves, and really connect with that.
Yeah. So in companies, we should have happiness programs and consciousness programs and empathy-based programs. I'm serious. I'm being facetious, but I'm actually very serious.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Final point. If you were to put a message in a bottle for your kids to pick up in 10 years' time, for what Roksana sees today, potentially what they would read 10 years from now, what would that little message be?
Hope you had a great ride.
Okay. On that happy note. No, it's true. We have to have a bit of levity and fun also. Hope you had a great ride. But thank you, Roksana. It's been an absolute pleasure and wonderful to talk to you. All the best.
Thank you, Tarek.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.